We will call this December 3rd Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Pfeiffer, lead from the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
First item on the agenda, we have Brad Wilson for a 30-year plaque presentation from SDML Work Comp Fund Administration. Administrator.
Morning, Brad.
Morning.
Good morning. We've already visited a little bit, but as you mentioned, I'm Brad Wilson. I'm the administrator for the SDML Workers' Compensation Fund, which will provide the work comp coverage in Brown County and all the counties in the state and 498 other public entities. We're celebrating our 30-year anniversary, and it's kind of a 5-year project because it takes a while to get around to about 500 different meetings, and there's only so many Tuesdays and Monday nights in the year. So as part of our celebration, we are presenting plaques to our members on a significant anniversary, and the reason for my visit is to present Brown County with a 30-year plaque and to thank you on behalf of the South Dakota Municipal League, the South Dakota Association of County Commissioners, and our Board of Trustees for being a member for 30 years. If you kind of rewind back to 1987 when we began, we had 52 members. Fast forward now, we're at 498. So, and done very well with the support of the counties and your association. Just thank you on behalf of our trustees. And kind of in relation, Mike is a trustee on the other side of, not the work comp side, but on the property liability side, so he's very familiar with these programs and how they've benefited the counties. So, if I may approach
Sure.
the chair and present the plaque, and I do have a press release that I'll send to you, Kathy. And
Okay.
if you'd like a photo, we definitely could do a photo op, whether if you like the whole commission or just a chair or nobody. I'll leave that up to you. So usually one person gets to
We can delegate.
I really don't need the same.
You'll get 60 calls next week.
We don't want to generate phone.
No. All good. Good.
1, 2, look at me.
I ain't gonna look.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And we have a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas. Just on a
Thanks, Brad.
yes, thank you. On a side note, as you probably already know, your staff is wonderful to work with. I mean, they are always doing a great job. We have a really good relationship working with them, and I'd just like to give them kudos as well. So
Good, thank you.
yes, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. It's a good partnership, things that we do with safety programs and things like that, investing into good policies and practices.
Yes. Yeah, there's just a lot of cooperation and you're right, a lot of resources that's benefiting the counties and
Yep.
and all the public entities. So
You do a good job.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your
Thanks.
service too. So,
Well, thanks for
Appreciate it.
taking the time to come up and present this to us. It's not very often that you get service sometimes the way. You've got a lot of territory to cover. You got that. I don't know how many you have to cover, but you're probably going to have your hands full.
yeah, the whole state. I usually wait to come up here when the weather's the best. December's my time.
All right.
All right, well, thank you.
Safe travels. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
We got a few minutes, Kathy. You want to do a couple of yours?
Yeah.
We'll
We have minutes from the general meeting November 26th.
Move. Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Pfeiffer, to approve the general meeting minutes from November 26th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Claims.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Pfeiffer, second by Kipley, to approve claims. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There is no HR report. I guess that's probably good news. Set hearing date for budget supplement.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley, to set the hearing date for budget supplements. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And
Motion
that
carries.
was the 17th? What was the date?
It's actually the 24th. Yes, that's okay. Yep. And then the notice will include what I had on the spreadsheet for you guys. If you have any questions, you can let me know. We have the joint cooperative agreement with NECOG.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Piker, second by Weiss, to authorize chair to sign the joint cooperative agreement with NECOG for 2020. All
Does
in
that set our
favor?
dues too?
Yes.
What was the dues for that?
Oh, let's see.
25,000.
Their agreement is I believe it's 2% automatic escalator.
Just so we all know.
Yeah, it has the,
Yeah, I had the rate schedule and everything as part of the,
yeah, Brown County, our share is $25,154.33.
They helped us do our comp plan, and it ended up being, even with all of that, a lot cheaper than what
yep.
some of the municipalities are paying.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have set hearing date for the Edwards Preserve.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Weiss. Set hearing date for the Edwards Preserve land exchange. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's what we had set for the 17th.
Next item on the agenda, we have Patricia Kendall, Museum Director, 2020 PT staff.
Good morning.
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 Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to start off with some holiday good cheer and invite you all to our holiday. There's fire. Oh, I brought handouts for.
Is this the one where we frost cookies?
Yes.
Yes. You guys get a ton of people for that.
Well, I'll tell you, last year we had just under 800 people in 3 hours. This year, we're thinking we're going to break that number. We do have a really good time, and everybody's in such a good mood when they come, even though they're just sort of packed shoulder to shoulder. It seems like it's a good community event. Yeah, and every year we run out of sugar cookies to decorate, and every year we send a husband to Kessler's to get more. And so we're hoping this year that we'll order enough, maybe. So it's a lot of fun. I hope you all can come.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I have some more holiday good news, I'll tell you that, before I get to my request. I kind of consider myself a budget hawk. I have been going over our budget weekly. I know how much we have. I know how much we're going to spend. So at the end of this year, I'm looking to give back to the county between $30,000 and $35,000 is my plan, is my hope. And that's just to kind of fire you up for my next request. But also, I've already budgeted for a part-time person to come back to our staff. You know that we gave up the full-time position after I became director. The staff has done what they can to cover all the bases, and I've taken about half of my duties from that position back. And actually, it's given us time the past few months, 5 months, to really determine where our needs are, and it is at our front desk and our volunteer coordinator. We just had another volunteer who is going to take some time off for family. We don't know if she's going to come back. We hope she comes back. That was a regular volunteer. And we did have another regular volunteer in September who fell and broke her arm. She broke a bone in her shoulder. And we hope she can come back, but she's in her 80s. So it's likely that she won't. We hope she does. So we have lost significant numbers at our front desk for volunteers, and I also have numbers for that too. I can tell you in the last few years, we've dropped between August, September, October, and November. We had about 450, 460 volunteer hours just at the front desk. And this past year, it was down almost 100 hours, 360 hours of volunteers. So what isn't filled by volunteers is filled by staff, which means staff step away from their work, from their desk, come downstairs, and which is, I think, almost the most important point of contact when you come into the museum is that friendly face that's right there to greet you and help you out. Of course, taking them away from their duties, and I've given them extra duties, and so we're managing, but that part-time person would really alleviate a little bit of stress that we're having right now. We've got big plans for 2020. We've got a lot of programming that we want to do. We do need this person, and I've already budgeted. When I submitted my 2020 budget, I already included it, and it was approved. So I'm hoping that is also that continues, that approval continues.
How many hours are you thinking, Patricia?
It'll be the 19 hours a week.
Okay, less than 20, so.
Less than 20, that's no benefits. I have 2 other part-time people, and this is the second half of my request. My other part-time people, one has worked for 5 years and one has worked for 10 years. And of course, when they started at whatever, the starting wage was at the time. They get cost of living increase, but they don't get the step increase. So they have continually fallen behind. And I'd like to hire this new part-time person at their current salary, but I don't feel it's fair to our current part-time people to be paid what the new person is paid, considering how much time they put in. And really, they're doing extra work now, too, for me. So I would like to request an increase for my 2 part-time people by $1. Right now, they are at $13.59. Cost of living increase is 25 cents. That puts them at $13.84. So I'd like to bump them up to $14.84. Now, right now, step 1 for a person coming to work at the museum full-time is going to be $15.89. I'm sorry, put you on the spot. Plus that 25 cent increase, it would have been, I believe, $15.39, so $15.50. Anyhow,
Isn't there a way, looking at HR, to roll that person can request to be the new person and be bumped up, and then the entry level could start at the 13, or no?
The 2 people that I have are dedicated to what they do. One is exhibits and one is education, so those are fairly specific things that they do and that they're trained for and that they're very good at. This new person coming in, I do kind of want to keep them at this price point because there's a lot to learn. They're going to be entry level. It's learn on the job. They're not going to have all of that museum knowledge and all of that institutional knowledge to help them do their job at the level that the 2 current part-time people are doing. And I do have what I had budgeted is on the top, and then what I would like to do is on the bottom of this spreadsheet right here. And I'll hand it over to you as well. Do I have enough copies to go around? It's going to be, because I do watch my budget so carefully, it would really only be an increase of $1,729 for me for payroll next year, provided that everyone works all of their hours. Now, my part-time people sometimes fall short of their hours because by nature of being part-time, they're very flexible, very fluid. They have a lot going on outside of work.
Patricia, going back to kind of Rachel's question, the 2 people that we have that are part-time right now are the curator assistants, pretty much,
They're
correct?
curatorial assistants.
Okay.
And this person that we're asking to be is the front desk volunteer coordinator. And I have a job description too, copies of the job description for that too, that I'd like to send around. So this person really is, maybe they can work their way up to curatorial assistant. That's how I would do it. I've been blessed. To have inherited a staff who is so good at what they do, and is so dedicated to what they do. As you may know, Laura Schoeneman is going to retire in December of next year. I'll have her only for 1 more year, and she has 20 years of being the curator of exhibits. That will be difficult to replace. So I really would like to keep a really solid staff right up until we go through that transition. I think a good footing there.
This $1,700 increase in your salaries and wages, will your overall 2020 budget be able to absorb that?
It will.
So you will go over budget?
I will make sure. Yes, I will make sure. I'm at the point right now, if you wake me up in the middle of the night, I can tell you where we stand with our budget. I do keep a pretty close eye. What I do, and I can share that with you too, is that I project what I'm going to spend until the end of the year, and then I watch that remaining number, fairly closely. And, I have been able to get a few things done this year so next year should be a nice, fresh fingers, knock on wood, smooth coast, because we got some infrastructure done at the museum, we got new lights, we got some painting done, some new locks.
You don't anticipate any snowstorms, but...
Take the roof down?
Yeah.
We have a new roof as of, 4 years ago? Actually, right after I started, we got a new elevator shaft and a new roof. I'm hoping my building can weather the storms, any storm.
Well, we have the approved, so we'll go off on now. Let me grab the budget book.
I do have a copy of what...
You have?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
it's the copy that you gave me.
Yeah.
If you'd like to look at it, I can pass that over too. So what do I have on the bottom there, 362, 363? I'm confident that I can absorb $1,700. But I know that the return for that will be immense. In quality of work, in loyalty, in that sense of appreciation for your staff.
So you're nearly $1,700.
Somebody to focus on recruiting and getting volunteers.
That would be wonderful.
I know about volunteers.
What number are they? 34?
I recall having issues a number of years ago. We did the same thing with part-time people for the maintenance staff and so forth. That doesn't case.
Yeah.
Because of that, and you kind of play catch-up every once in a while with it. It becomes, pretty acute and apparent.
It does when all of a sudden, I'm only one month in the building for whatever reason. Somebody had an exhibit to go take care of off-site, somebody had a doctor's appointment, somebody got sick. Sometimes it's just the custodian and I. And our building is, you've got 3 floors and all that, which, we always did that. We always.
And she's saying we have within that number, she can
Meet our youth.
time work, yeah.
Well, I appreciate how thorough you've been on this and well thought out it is, and being mindful of budgetary situations and so forth.
The 1,700 increase is just in the personal services, right?
It's just in payroll.
Yep, so then you can absorb it within your
I can, in my
professional
operational
salaries,
role.
all that.
Yeah, I
I guess
can-
what I was looking at is current budget for 2019 was $425,265, and we've approved your 2020 budget for $363,247, substantially less than what we had in 19 by quite a large number.
Yeah. By
So
eliminating...
I guess I'm kind of leaning towards that, thinking that it looks like it's in the right direction.
I can't get any more in the right direction.
There were some expenditures this year that helped.
Here, so.
Yes. And like I said, next year, we painted all of our common areas this year. And our painter assured us that there were some areas that had not been painted in 30 or 40 years. So it took about 3 coats in our stairwell. So I know that I've taken care of that for a good long time. Our locks are all up to date. I did eliminate the last 2 skeleton keys that we have for our exhibits in our storage space. And new sinks in our bathroom from the 1940s, things that were in there. I mean, everything that I think needs to be done in immediate need. And then plus our lighting.
That's what I was wondering too. Erica, do you know if there's other part-time within the county system that are making the $15 to $16 an hour? It seems kind of high for part-time.
There are other areas that are making that and more.
In what departments do you happen to know?
The sheriff's department.
Sheriff.
And I'm asking for $14.84.
And we do 15 for our election.
$14.84.
$14.84.
That's what I'm asking for. And for a position that requires a college degree.
Well, I guess I'm leaning towards approving what your request is. The thing that gives me a little bit of heartache is I know as you make these tough choices, one of the most fun things and where I think we have a lot of exposure is in the schools. But I find heartache in the fact that I think the teachers find value and I think the students do, but we've offered many times to partner with the schools because they're getting that ability to have that history, social, that credit that they need through the state, and we're providing that for them, but they've never come back and said, hey, we'd like to help do that. So as I look at the budget overall, I think that's an area if we have to shuffle things, you could take away from the schools and put other places if it has to be down below manning the desk. I mean, that's where we have to be. I hate to say that, but on the other hand, if there's no value found from some of our administration at the various schools of what we're providing for them, I think it's just something we need to think about.
Well, and I do think there's a tremendous appreciation for what we do. And we always see those kids come back to the museum and they bring their parents, their grandparents, their neighbor. There's always a return, and it's not necessarily monetary, but there is a return for us in that investment. And I will say too that our part-time education person was filling the gap that was there, but also she has been filling the gap at the museum too, with the loss of the full-time office position. So we've shuffled a few things around. We still have a vacuum there that I'd like to fill, and then also just that, I think that compensation that's due.
What are you thinking, Patty, as far as this person part-time being hired first of the year, or what do you?
I love the first of the year. You know, we work weekends, and to put that person into the mix will give the staff another little extra bit of relief. You know, we have so much work to do, and we want to take our comp time. There's no time to take our comp time right now, so that person will also allow us to do that so that we're not constantly trying to work down that comp time that we get from working on the weekends and special events. By the way, we love what we do. No complaints. We absolutely love our jobs. If you just poll them right now, that's their first response would be that they love what they do.
Very thoughtfully and thoroughly prepared, so I'll move the recommendation that you brought forward.
Next second. Moved by Lee, second by Sutton, to authorize the hiring of a part-time and an increase of the 2 part-time that haven't had a raise for some time. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And note to the media, that part-time was already approved.
Yes.
And it's not an
Not a
increase
new.
in employment, it's replacing someone that was there
Prior.
had to replace.
And if the other commissioners would be in agreement, I guess I would encourage you each spring, as county, city, school get ready to do their budgets, if we could send a request to the school boards reminding them of what we provide for them and asking, maybe if it's just a few $1,000s to you know, travel we have in it, the supplies, all the stuff we're doing for them. Just as a reminder, I don't anticipate that they're going to say, yeah, we'd like to help out, but I think it wouldn't hurt to send them a letter.
And then you can always ask.
Can you do that for us?
I can do that.
Perfect.
And just a reminder too, that the city does give us $12,000 in promotional funds that we use as well. So there is some contribution there, but yes, I will.
And I think we give that back to them.
We do.
To the library.
We swap it.
We're good partners. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Next item on the agenda, we have Sheriff Mark Milbrandt, discuss sheriff vehicles.
That's
Morning.
that thing.
How are you?
I guess we did. You get what you get today. Mark's furnace went up, so he's trying to
no.
get a heater in his house right now, so you get what's left over.
Morning.
Morning. I guess you guys kind of know we're calling or coming in here because we did ask for 3 cars this next year. I understand the all the budgetary issues, but our concern is that if we don't have at least 2 cars this year, that our maintenance budgets are going to go high. Plus, we also put our guys in huge danger when they're running into accidents and emergencies and stuff like that. So, a couple things that I want you to keep in mind. Mark had me bring some of the numbers. So far, this is just through October of 2019. We transported 362 people. That included 1,581 man hours. Miles traveled through October was 42,611 miles at approximate cost, because I averaged it out. I didn't go with every person's salary. It would take me a long time, so I just did the middle of the road for everybody, and that's at $67,737. So we are on the road a lot. I tried to compare with last year, but since in 2018, but since I wasn't here, I don't know if I'm comparing apples to apples, and I didn't want to throw the numbers off in any way, shape, or form, so I'm just giving you 2019 numbers. Sandy's been sick for quite a while right at the moment, so I didn't get the up-to-date numbers. But I can give you what we had last week. Somewhere between $100,000 and $152,000 is coming back to you guys at the end of this month. We're hoping that you guys could see fit to throw 37.5 back to us so we can get our second car at least to put back on the road and get the miles down and not get out of control where next year we might be in a real deep trouble. So that's kind of why we're here. Or I'm here.
What is our current inventory on our cars? Is it for mileage? I mean, our newest to oldest? I mean, how many? I guess if we're looking at replacing, what car is the one that's going to be surplus or whatever you want to state are going to be put to the side?
The ones that are you talking about how we do that?
Well, I guess, do we have cars with 130,000 miles, or are they at 70,000 miles? What are we looking at? Do we have replacing with a new?
Currently, we have 3 vehicles that are over 100,000 miles right today. 2 of which, one of which is a year newer than the other 2, and that car happened to be one that did a lot of these miles, so it's a year newer. We believe since those are highway miles that we will be in better shape to keep that around another year. The other 2, the maintenance budgets are starting to hit us since we're in that about 110 to 115,000 miles for those 2. Those are what's starting to hurt, and I'm not sure what we're going to do for another year for those if we only get 1 car. I'm not sure how we would do that, but that's why we're coming here. The one I think we'll be able to survive with, but the other 2 are going to be a tough. And then our other problem is we try to shift those to our other departments, the jail, the JDC, and then get rid of those that are up in the 140s and 150,000s before those give up on us. Those rotations will be gone also, and I'm afraid we're just going to run into a great big wall one of these days, and that's we're trying to prevent that.
So did we get 3 this year?
No, 2.
What, 2 this year, in
Yeah.
2019?
Yes. 2 this year, and I look back and it looks like about every 5 years is where we end up with over that 115, 20,000, and that's about where they end up going down the road in that general vicinity. The 2 that we just took off the line, the least mileage was 118, and the other one was just shy of 130.
Kathy, did you say that you printed off where the budgets are at? 'Cause you thought you'd bring back how much?
Between 100 and 150, we're guessing.
Oh,
I know
I
that's a
just
big
have the ones
number.
that are about to go over.
But
And that's in the jail or in the
That's
sheriff?
the whole...
All the budgets?
The whole budgets, yeah, all the budgets.
And that's for the whole year.
Correct.
I think we already spent that. Hopefully it comes back.
What we need to remember is the overall net position of the county
Yeah.
will most likely not increase this year. And we'll calculate that before March 1st because we use surplus cash to finance the budget. So our net position may go down $500,000, $1 million. So reversions are not necessarily a proper indicator of a budget supplement if you look at the whole county's net position. And we won't know that till we do our financial report. Not to be like a damper here, it's just I think important to know.
Well, we got a couple
So wait
pretty
till we know
significant ones on the
where
list
we're
here
at,
that-
is what you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Because we don't know if we even have the money, because we've used it too, for other areas, the building, the...
Because we gotta look holistically at like the entire general fund and the entire county before we analyze this permit turn back 10 so I can have 5 more, you know.
I guess the question is that 37,000 for a new vehicle, is that in the budget, in spite of the fact that 152,000 would be coming back, or would the budget have to be supplemented with 37,000 so that the sheriff's office can buy a new vehicle?
Well, maybe I'm not understanding, but next year's budget, we asked for 3 and 2 of them were eliminated. out
Okay.
of next year's budget.
So there is money there, they have...
For one.
For one.
Is what I've been told, is there's one.
And he's asking for the second.
Correct, the second one, one more back.
And you're basically kind of using the 152,000 as a money coming in that would cover for another vehicle, or would help towards covering.
It's just a suggestion, some way to avoid two things. We avoid the potential accidents that our deputies are running at high speeds, two emergencies, trying to save other people, and we don't want them to become part of our emergency, you know, to have to send somebody to help them if a wheel falls off, or, you know, something breaks when they're doing over 100 miles an hour, you know. Those are our concerns. And then, of course, secondary to that would be our rotation schedule gets off, and then we end up somewhere along the line, we're going to have to catch that up somewhere along the line too. But my number one fear is the safety of our deputies, because of what they do and how they have to drive, like it or not.
There's a lot of unforeseen things and so forth, and one of the possibilities, if you will, is to authorize you to purchase a second one and challenge you to absorb it into the budget that's already there. And if you're, you know, going to be short of what you were budgeted this year, which we appreciate, you know, that's something that may be possible. But what you need is the authority to purchase the second one, wherever that money has to come from in there.
That's not bad, because if we gave you like a $10,000 budget supplement at year end, that'd be better than just full on giving you $40,000 in January.
Right.
You know, in case you don't need it.
And the other part is, you're absolutely right, we could do something like that, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we do have to have some idea to get it ordered soon, because looking at they've changed all of the vehicle purchases through the state as of October. They took all the Tahoes off. There are no Tahoes to be had whatsoever. And they're 60 to 120 day out delivery. So now we're also looking at, even if we ordered them tomorrow, we're at minimum 60 days, and could be up to 6 months out, or close to 6 months, not quite. So we also have to, and then getting outfitted, and getting back on the road, we're still going to be putting miles. We're already well over the 100 and some miles on the ones we want to replace now.
Yeah.
We're only going to be adding to it in the next 2 to 4, 5 months, you know, so it's
Well, there's an
something to keep in
expense to it, but
consideration.
100,000 miles isn't a total brick wall anymore with proper maintenance.
And we do, we always do, but
reliability issues.
we do have the hard turns, the hard everything, and it seems like the vehicles, and I mentioned this before, is that after we hit about that 100-ish, 110, all the front end ball joints, all of the front ends all have to be redone, so we calculate that according to when we're going to get vehicles, if we're going to do it, or we're not going to spend that money. So
Yeah, you make
it's
a
all
conscious
consideration.
decision, you're going to put another 1,500 in it and get another 100,000 out of it, or you're not.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, and when we made that decision, it wasn't just a random, let's take two. We took it in account with all the rest of these budgets, because I think where we were at was, when we had looked at the numbers, we'd cut highway from 10 to 5, so literally in half. And we had an internal goal here in the workshops of, let's try to get them at least to 6 million. So we went through every single budget, what can we take just a little bit more so that we can put more on those roads. And I know it's not easy for you guys in your position, but it wasn't easy for us either, trying to find, you know, to minimize those cuts that we were making already. And
No,
So what-
and we do understand that, and we're trying to do what we can to help bring our budgets down as best we can too.
The initial cost of the vehicle, 30,000, or 37 some odd thousand, that doesn't include the moving of the equipment out of the vehicle that you're doing away with. What's that average cost? To put that-
Just moving is about $5,000.
Okay, and then
If anything's broken, or like what we had a problem with the Fords, they redid them, our cages wouldn't fit. So we had to retrofit with new cages, and that's in the neighborhood of about $1,000, give or take, to put a new cage in.
So on
And
two-
we have no choices.
So on 2 new vehicles, you potentially could be looking at 10,000 just to get the equipment in them, so
Correct.
you can go.
Correct. Could be. You know, there's always a little wiggle room because we have to build a little bit, because we never know what these, or what the state bids are gonna be. But there's still not a lot of wiggle room on these. We try to recycle everything out of the car that we can and put them in the new cars, and what we buy is the universal, but there are certain things they change that we can't, we have no control over.
Right. Well, at this point, I would move, you need a motion to do what I suggested, is to authorize you to purchase a second one, but challenge you to absorb it into your budget for next year.
And then if we have trouble later on,
We can supplement it if necessary, and hopefully we won't have to.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Weiss, a second from Sutton, to authorize the purchase of a new vehicle for the Sheriff's Department with the understanding that it could come planned for out of their budget. Would that be the correct way of...
Yeah, well, that was...
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Carefully opposed.
Carefully opposed.
I'd prefer we wait till after the new year to see what this is gonna look like.
You know,
It ain't
for
gonna be pretty.
example, we had talked about our budget supplements earlier, and although you have done a great job returning like $100,000, our court-appointed attorneys are gonna need a supplement of roughly $375. So that's where some of those general fund reversions make up for some of the other budgets that the expenses are over. And you know, we can't really control the court-appointed attorney expenses, so we just do our best what we can there. So that's where you have to look holistically, and that's I think where Rachel's kind of coming from, waiting till we see the general fund as a whole in February.
Because when we talk about purchasing that building outright to save on the interest and some of these other factors that are coming into it, it's not just, do we want you to have the new vehicle or not? There's more to it, and this is not going to be good.
But we didn't really authorize additional monies. We're asking them to take their budget that they set.
Right, but I
And
think the
take the money.
motion was try, and if you don't, we'll supplement.
Well, I think it's more than try, so...
You know,
And I'm not saying I'm opposed to giving that second meal, I'm just
Yep.
saying let's wait till right after the new year.
Yeah,
But
well,
I
I
think
respect your
we're-
position, that's fine.
the problem you have is that I understand what you're saying about your rotation. If you don't ever authorize a new vehicle, what happens in 2 years when they all have 150,000? You come and say we need 5 new vehicles.
Yep.
That's my concern is getting the rotation where we don't absorb this all in 1 year.
Yeah.
And I agree with Rachel that I'm not a fan of spending more dollars, but if you can make your budget that currently was set for 2020 and get that car out of there, hey, that'd be great.
And the problem is, in 4 or 5 years, it isn't gonna be 37, it's gonna be 45 or 47. That's exactly why our budgets are in the condition they're in, because the revenue doesn't keep up with the expense.
Well, and that's one of the things that we do plan on coming in front of you at some point, but if you want, and take a second now, is one of my plans, and I've talked to Mark about this, is that we currently use our deputies to transport. And a lot of times that's overtime, like it or not. We do have retired people that do work part-time or on a contract basis, which is getting paid by what you guys set by miles. Currently, a trip to Mitchell is being paid at $100. The unfortunate part is we have lots of them going to Yankton, and the only other pay is $125. So for twice the distance, they're getting paid $25. They don't want to do that. If we could get that raised to even $200, which is still a lot less than what we pay a deputy to drive down there, we could get those part-timers to do more of those trips, thus saving us money on this bottom line. But we need your guys' permission in order to up that, which still will end up decreasing the amount of costs for us. Even though it's an increase, it ends up decreasing. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we can get those guys to take, and I don't blame them. Who wants to drive an extra 200 miles for $25? You know, they'll go to Mitchell, we can get them to go to Mitchell every day, but we can't get them to go to Yankton very often. So with your, hopefully, when you guys set the prices coming up and you know, those things in the near future, that you consider at least increasing that fee, because it will actually lower the bottom line in the end of the day.
Well, and that's where, you know, your ability to be able to quantify that and dig into it and find out and see where those trade-offs are and analyze that
And it
and
has
make
helped.
good changes and recommendations. And I know about, the transports that we've had, back in forth to Fall County and some of the other things, depending on populations
Yep.
and how that impacts,
And I never mentioned that none of these numbers included the day trips that didn't involve a per diem cost. These only cost, the ones that these numbers were for per diem costs only. So if they went to, say, Roberts County, we went to Fall County, we went to wherever that didn't go over a meal time, that's not on these numbers at all. So these numbers are actually deflated compared to real numbers because we weren't keeping those numbers. Hopefully from here on out we'll have all of those. We're I'm trying to keep a better tab of every single time we put miles on so we know where they're going and where we can cut.
Well, that's the only reason I made the motion, is because I think with these opportunities and, your analyzation and working on that and so forth, that you're up to the task of doing it.
I appreciate it. And we'll do what we can, and hopefully you guys will consider that in the near future to do something like that for us.
We set our fees first meeting in January, we'll take that into consideration.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Do you
Oh, yeah.
happen to know on the, we set December 24th as our budget supplement hearing. We're supplementing $55,000 to the court security. Do you know why that went over so much, or has Mark talked about that? I know we had one person retire, so I didn't know if the benefits...
That's the biggest one out of there, was because he's been here 23 years here, so he would have been maxed out on vacation, sick leave, all of that. A big chunk of that would have come out of that. I wasn't here when this all started, but from what I understand is that all the people there were on our upper tier of salaries.
So they're all
And that's
gonna
where
come
we
out.
ended up going over, was on salaries.
Are we looking at any more retirements in 20?
I don't think so, but we have one more this month, but in the sheriff's office. Scott Cole will be retiring next week, in fact, but that'll come out of the sheriff's office budget.
Sure.
And then once we replace the one from court security, that will be at with somebody new. We don't have anybody that's moving over, so it'll be at a lower.
Lower rate?
Yes, so next year that number should be different.
Okay, thank you.
We do still now in current terms have pretty generous accrual of those kinds of things, and when you have people retire, there's pretty significant payouts.
Yeah, that was a
Not
pretty big check.
Not something that's easy to roll back.
Any other questions?
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for coming over, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave. You got anything else, Kathy?
I do not.
We don't have any agenda, I guess. A couple questions, Dirk.
Sure.
Our highway superintendent.
Morning.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, it sucked.
Goes with the territory. I've signed up for this twice now, so I should know what the hell I'm getting into. There's a copy of the snow policy. I know this was a question that came up. It's pretty vague, and it's meant to be vague. Should be drumming up some work for the state's attorney's office if you get too specific, because anytime you deviate from what your plan is,
Thank you.
you create liability.
Thank you.
I don't really know anything about the origin of this. This is not the same one that I had when I was in my first tenure. The one we had in my first tenure was a cannibalization of a Larry Mitchell plan from '92 that Russ Badal used for a little bit, and then we had modified it. It was way more specific and borderline unrealistic. It's kind of tough to have a specific policy. Is anybody else following? I'm sorry. It's a fascinating document. When your county's bigger than Rhode Island, even on this event, there's a foot less snow at Fernie than what's out of Richmond. As far as an all-encompassing policy, I'm not sure how you do that. This one, pretty much once you're outside of working hours, and again, I don't know anything about the origin of the document. I can tell by the verbiage in here who wrote it, and that superintendent used an attorney for a couple of the paragraphs in here. But outside of that, this is what the document that was in place when I came back, and so that's what we've been using. Once you get into outside of normal working hours, which are defined in the union contract and county policy for the highway department, then at least quite a little latitude to the highway superintendent to make the decision on whether or not we're going to go out. I will talk specific. You guys can look through that. If you got questions, you can ask me about it. It's very straightforward and it's pretty rudimentary. A little bit about Sunday. We started on Thursday with our communication. The first we got a call from the fire station, and I don't know if you guys know that, but occasionally we put a snowplow down with the fire engine. Again, that's something that we've just always been doing. I don't know. It's a good idea. I don't know what the origin of it is, and it's
Down
always
south? Which spot?
right here, right over here. We put a plow truck and a man here at the fire station in Aberdeen.
Downtown?
Yep.
Okay.
And if there was a call out in the county somewhere else that wasn't associated with those units, it would still go out and say if the rural guys were trying to address something.
Sure.
So we've always done that in the past. Most of the time it's not a big deal. Again, what triggers that is not defined. It's usually a couple of calls between the battalion chief and us, and has a little bit to do with how we're manned and staffed and this and that. So that was the first thing that came up. A side note, the original request was, can you send one down here on Thanksgiving, which means we would have had a guy for 96 hours on overtime through the whole weekend. Not a deal breaker by any means, and had this event started on Thanksgiving with that, we probably would have put one in there. But that was the first thing. Now going forward, I don't have a problem with doing that. I don't know if it'll ever come to a head where they're like, wow, we really need it, and we're like, well, we can't really put one down there. And I also know the city participates at some level. Again, these aren't things, it isn't a well-defined thing. It's usually an as-needed communication between the people that, are on call at the fire station. They contact us and we work it out. We don't have a charter, a book, or anything that we go to do
Every event's different.
Exactly. Okay, so anyway, that's a side note. That really doesn't matter to anything. That's just another service I thought I'd throw out there that we've been doing. So on Sunday, Kendall and I visited several times. About 10 o'clock was sort of when we were going to make a decision to do one thing or the other, because a little bit north of town here, the wind had died down. They were still getting snow in Hecla as late as Sunday night. I mean, it's a lot of different things that were going on. So we debated a little bit, decided that probably the value tied with the amount of time that we'd be able to go out there, and the fact that it was a 16-inch snow. If it was a 4-inch snow, we'd have been on at 10 o'clock, we'd have plowed it, we'd have been home by 3 or 4 o'clock. But about 10:30, at 10:24, the emergency manager contacted me and asked me what we were going to do, and I said, I'm going to talk to Kendall one more time, but unless something changes dramatically, we'll be going out at 4:30 tomorrow. After I called a couple other guys, I sent Dave Bruckner out because he had a blade at his house, easy mold, about a 15-minute warm the blade up, and he's out the door, and he's on a county road in probably 2.5 minutes. And he plowed. He left out of his house about 11. He plowed. I told him to run across Prairie Wood and run out to 6 and 13, because those two roads, one has 3,200 cars a day on it, the other has about 2,200. I thought maybe we could hack out a big chunk. And most cases, with the exception of Mr. Sutton here, who followed the blade, most of the people out there didn't know he went out. So Dave did that, and while he was out, we got a call about someone that needed some assistance on the Beagler Road. So we went over there because he was 3 miles away. Had he been in town, I don't know if we'd have sent somebody out for that. Again, it was a scalable emergency. The weather was in conflict with a guy had an important meeting, and I don't discount that, but that was uncommon that we were able to do that. We just happened to have a blade right there.
So it's not a non-emergency.
Emergency.
Somebody's meeting, emergency?
Well, and that's what I'm saying, and I might circle back around to that, to discuss an emergency. We actually cite an emergency snow situation in our snow plan. I gotta be honest, I don't even know what the hell that is. I mean, I don't know if that's a declaration by the sheriff or somebody that says, all right, now we have a snow emergency and we're gonna do these other things. I don't know that. So anyway, my point in what I'm talking about, Bruckner, he was out till dark. which we'll go until dark on that end. We'll start in the dark if it's going to get light. Not super excited, not that, and if the situation would call for it, we'll plow around the clock. This didn't qualify as that. But I was a little stunned that after 11, so he quit at dark, so he probably was out 6 hours. Very little were you even able to tell that he did anything, and it had to do with the volume of the snow. A lot of the complaints we got yesterday were centered around Richmond. I'm not going to pick on them. That's also a concentration of population in the county. But we have other problems out there with the way the roads are designed and the way it was developed, that it's a complete ditch trying to get snow out of there, even on a good day.
Snow trap.
Exactly. So I don't know that anybody would have been, I'm not saying that, say, the Richmond Road, Prairie Wood, things close to town, you might have had a better chance to get around. But after you're about 5 or 6 miles out of town, your life would have been absolutely no better at 6 in the morning the next day. Now, the guys that were up north and over by Hecla and east of Groton, actually east of Groton we were able to plow Sunday night. There wasn't enough snow over there. We dispatched that guy out of Groton. He went out actually Saturday night about 11, 12. He was able to go and he got the roads cleared.
Well, with the winds on Saturday, there was a lot of variation about what actually was subject where.
Yeah.
Wherever there was an opportunity for it to be trapped and accumulate, it did. And we are pretty familiar with where most of those are. I know this one was more out of the northwesterly as opposed to southwesterly.
Yeah.
The winds were a little different, but still, those traps are still the traps.
And we're still flagging calls this morning that we didn't plow the road yesterday. The calls started coming in about 3 o'clock yesterday that we weren't plowing roads, and I was really getting confused because I'm calling the operator and he's on the road, and the people are calling and saying we're not plowing it. I don't know if you got around, but 16.5 inches of snow doesn't plow out real good on your first pass. So our goal yesterday was mostly to get things open so people can move around. But it still was not very good,
I think part of the problem is the perception, and it may, from a practical standpoint, depending on just exactly where you're at and so forth, with the effort, there's a narrow window of opportunity to try and take advantage of it under certain circumstances with the wind blowing and so forth. I think the biggest issue is the fact that the attempt wasn't made to try and at least address it, and there's a variety of reasons why, but
Sure.
especially, from a perception standpoint, because I didn't expect it to get as nice as it did on Sunday morning, but it did.
Sure.
But there was an attempt because the plow was out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but there's no way...
Limited.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to cover the entire county
Right.
at 4 o'clock on Sunday
And
afternoon.
I don't want you guys to get twisted up with each other. I mean, this is a decision I made, and unfortunately, as much as this next comment's going to hurt me, the exact same scenario, I'm going to make the same decision again, and I might try to do some stuff close to town. But I got an email yesterday at 5:57. Somebody was going home and said, "When the hell are you going to plow my road?" And it's 10 going to Warner. Well, 8 plow routes leaving Aberdeen, plow 10 going to Warner. Somebody went over it. But on a side note, when's the last time we had 16.5 inches of snow in Aberdeen? Anybody know?
And cemented to the road.
Well,
I mean, literally
regardless.
frozen onto the road. So you
2000
couldn't even scrape it off.
2011 was the last time. And I don't know, is the commission's expectation that we should be capable of moving a 16-inch or a 16-inch snow in a day? I mean, I don't think it's realistic. So, now, back to your comment, and I don't want to make everybody angry, but I agree, there was some scalable opportunity there, and like I said, out maybe 5 or 6 miles out of town, which at the same time addresses a large amount of the traffic. There's another phenomenon that happens when you open up the roads like that. There was, I can't remember, it was 26 or 36 calls for stuffed vehicles, and then the 2 guys that burned their cars up trying to get unstuck. I would
In town.
Yeah, I would guess that we would have had far more than that, because once you open up some of the roads, but not all of them, or you made a pass and you can kind of get down the road, then everybody's got to go, and you end up with a lot more. You almost enable them to go get stuck, I guess is what I'm getting. And I can tell from your guys' faces and body language that you're not super happy, and I'm sure you all got your ass chewed, but just so you know, we took 221 calls at the highway department yesterday. I'd say until about 10 o'clock, the first 75 were mostly bitching about what happened on Sunday. And after that, which sort of, in a really weird way, validated some of my thinking, they couldn't tell we had plowed. And we had plowed. So, see, I wrote down I came in early this morning because I wasn't sleeping, and I wrote down a bunch of notes, and I had to make sure that because I was probably in a different mood then. I'm going to come back to the emergency. So we covered the snow policy, and I do want you guys to understand, I get it. I know why people reacted that way. I just don't think that we would have appreciably improved the situation, and if we had, it would have been for a very small number of people.
Well, you mentioned the high traffic areas and those concentrations, and they are what they are, and it's not because, you know, they're that much more special or whatever, but knowing, for instance, you know, when we did make the effort to go to 6, you know, you're basically knocking at the door of that population center and then leaving it.
Yep. No,
which leaves a real nasty taste in people's mouth.
Now, and the other idea is, because we were brainstorming, you know, if we want to farm that whole deal out, I would be happy to take bids and hire dummies and just give them a blank check, or Jacobs or whoever it is, and say, you know, keep it dry, keep it open, decide whatever that thing is, and define an area out there and completely farm it out. You make Dave Bruckner the happiest guy
well,
in
it
that
begs the
tri-state
question,
area.
you know, that begs the question, because you have, you know, those 2 population centers, and Prairie has its own association, and they're responsible for their own within that area. You know, you can go back to, you know, since we opened the can of worms up and stuff, you know, does it really make any sense? You can't really take it back, but, you know, county road that dead ends on lakefront property and so forth, you know, technically county roads are supposed to be the secondary system, you know, below the state system for farm to market and access and so forth.
Was that one an emergency?
Which one?
Was that the reason we went up and did, or that was just because of the road counts, why you had them go up to Richmond?
I had Dave go out to 16, or to 6 and 13. Okay, that's what I told him to do, and then we got a phone call after that. And like I said, the guy, once you're at 6 and 13, it's 1-2 miles to the Beaver Road.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, had we been sitting in Aberdeen with nobody out at all, you know.
Well, I think half the problem is solved, because you don't want to be that guy out there hanging by yourself in your department, and none of us have ever ran a road department before, so you're the guy that we put there, and you're the guy we trust to make those decisions. If we have a heads up when we start getting the calls, the game plan is 4 a.m. tomorrow, and this is why. And I think half of those, some are still going to be mad, but then we know and we can relay the message, and then we don't have some people not so smart trying to maneuver their way through the county that maybe shouldn't be out on the road.
And I agree with you there. We don't have the other side of having a vague snow policy. Doesn't like the city where you can put it on the radio and you have it all defined. And I will be the first to tell you, I'm lax at my communication with the commission, because I'm like, all right, we got a task, we're going to get the task done, and I don't.
Or you just put Kendall or Cindy or somebody else maybe in charge of it, say, hey, tell the commissioners this is what we're doing.
Right.
Because we want to have your back. I mean, when these people are calling mad, there's a reason why, and I don't want to throw you under the bus, but I want to know, you know. But I wouldn't do that. But I think former superintendents in your spot, that's what happened, is eventually this body didn't have their back, and that's why we had changeover and things like that. But we 5 also need to be on the same page of what our expectations are for you and make those clear, because I don't want you getting different feeds from different people sitting at this table either.
Again, that's part of the game, though, Rachel. I get that every day from you guys. I mean,
well, you
it's not, I know, and it's not a problem, but that's the nature of the animal. Have you ever had 5 bosses? That are all...
How about 13,000 out in the county?
Well, we have to keep 3 people happy in the whole county, right? Just the majority.
Well, I guess my phone didn't heat up until about 7 o'clock yesterday morning. From 7 to 9, it was like I should have had a secretary. And my frustration is, I didn't know what to tell them.
Yep.
I mean, what do I tell them? So you know what I told them? I said, we'll discuss it Tuesday morning at our meeting, because I had no answers for them.
Okay.
That's the way I handled every one of them. I didn't give anybody any special treatment. I said, hey, I'm not the plow driver.
Right.
So that's my frustrating. Now, if that's your decision, I'll live with it. But I would like to know that, so when these people are calling me, I can say, our superintendent made the call to do this. Either live with it, but don't, but if I don't have an answer, it's frustrating for me and my end.
I understand that. No, it's not the first time that's I mean, with road work and all that kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah,
Well,
not to be critical, but for us to find out over social media and then start getting phone calls and stuff, and we have historically, if nobody else is declared, but it's pretty obvious on the front end of a situation like this, we're gonna advise no travel, it's pretty much the sheriff and the emergency management making that call, and are we gonna shut the courthouse down? Usually there's a bit of consultation, or at least, awareness of some of that going forward, so.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to come back to the social media thing here. I've got a couple other things I want to clean up here. Okay, general information for everyone. Plow trucks do not have down pressure, okay? The blade's just hanging out there in front, and it's pushing along. So if you read on some packed snow, it's going to drive up and ride over it. It has nothing to do with the competency of the driver, or if he's been drinking, or whether he was trained or not, or anything like that, like a lot of the general public.
What you're going to take off is the drifts on the top that have
Right.
filtered in.
And guess what we're doing today? We've got 6 of our blades, 2 other contractor blades, and a couple other plow trucks, and we've got 10 or 12 pieces out that are cutting snow and trying to take care of that today, so hopefully it will make it better. The other thing I get to hear a lot about is, well, the city's doing this, or the city's out, or the state's out, or, well, the city's doing this and the state's doing this. I mean, we're all plowing snow, but saying we're all doing the same things, like saying that you two both deal with beef, so you do the same thing. That's not really the case. The state actually has a system. They don't even have to think about what they're doing. It tells them when to put the plow down, at what time you're supposed to start spreading, how much sand and how much salt, and obviously we can move in that direction. They're just about have the system perfected, but just the study on it's about $1.5 million. So I don't know. It would be handy because it tells. I mean, you just look at a screen and it tells you what you're supposed to do.
And there's flaws in that.
Yes, there is, and I don't know that's probably overkill the other way. The city doesn't have to go anywhere. The city to mold is lifting up the garage door, and they're plowing. We have to radiate out as much as like 60 miles on a couple of our routes, So
Well,
it's
I
not always.
think the city's got like a 48-hour time frame that they move too. I mean, it isn't like they're going to do it the morning after the snowstorm, and by 1 o'clock they're done.
Right.
They've got a time frame that they work within too.
So back to the social media thing. So I had a couple communications with commissioners on Sunday, and a third commissioner contacted the foreman, and everybody was cool, and weren't pointing us in one way or the other. I got a text at 10:24 from the emergency management director asking me what we were going to do, and I said I'm going to check with Kendall one more time, but otherwise we're not going out till 4:30 or 4 a.m. on Monday. I never did look at what he posted on Facebook, but I don't really need the emergency manager inciting the general public against the highway department. I mean, it's complete crap. I didn't read it. Cindy looked at some of it, and apparently at some point it must have got to where guilt or something, because the emergency management director went back on and posted, well, wait a minute, I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody here. So, and then he came out to the highway department yesterday and made some comments to the foreman about, our inattention to the snow on Sunday. So, I'm not real comfortable going forward because I don't know if he's got my back or he's going to stab us in it after that. So, I will do whatever we got to do, keep everybody safe and protected and cooperate with him, but I will be moving forward with him with a certain amount of caution. I mean, I didn't even know it was that bad until I had 4 highway superintendents call me yesterday from as far away as Union County and go, what is the deal with your emergency manager? I said, I don't know, I guess I pissed him off, but, so you know. All right, anything else?
Thank you for sharing that.
I told you about the South Shore windrow, why the people's drive was blocked. Putney Slough So I'm just talking the low road from Tacoma Park over to Herman Lair's house. That may end up being closed not permanently, but for the winter, because I'm getting I don't even know what the hell we're gonna have on a day-to-day basis there, even today, because the water's come up over a part of it, then it went down, then we got riprap, now the riprap's got water that splashed on it and froze. It's just a goofy deal. And then once you get over to our berm by the bridge, the 18's completely underwater and our berm's washed out, so.
And what contribution they make out of Jamestown continues to fluctuate.
Yep. Yeah, we had that
Which
going
is
the right
pretty
direction.
significant right now, yeah.
And then it went the other direction.
Monitoring that too, so.
Hope the snow don't melt overnight.
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, with a few exceptions, and I think that's the biggest rub here, is the few exceptions where there were opportunities on a limited basis to try and impact where there was some drifting and so forth, because it was so wet, and once you drive over it once, it's packed in and turned to ice, and I'm one of the old guys here. I have plenty of recollections in the past. Just fortunately, we didn't wind up with 3-4 hours of rain in the middle of that stuff. I remember plenty of situations where we had ruts 8 inches deep that were there for a month on state roads. So it was not a good situation, and then just the fact, I don't think anybody's got any issue with Saturday, but Thanksgiving and those who chose not to change their plans, which a lot of people did about traveling distances and so forth, and then the sun starts shining, and you get people trying to, make up and scramble and so forth. It just, I don't know, it's easier in hindsight.
My question would be is, when you and Kendall decide to make your decision, should that be noted that the chair then call the radio station and say, hey, our plows are scheduled to go out at this? That would eliminate the 30, 40 phone calls that each commissioner gets and just says, hey, if you're listening to news, this is what our plan is. I don't know if it'll accomplish anything, but I think it would take some of the, you're the superintendent, you and Kendall make that decision. Who am I to challenge that? But I think just the fact that you let the general public say, hey, the plows are going out at 4 a.m. Monday morning. I don't know if that would accomplish anything, but I think at least you're trying to alert the general public of what your plan is to do.
Yeah, I don't care. I'll do whatever. We can change the snow plan. We can do whatever you guys want. That's no problem.
Yeah, and I think, in the plan, or just you simply to accommodate and so forth, if there's, any particular situation that arises, you have and your department will have and continue to respond, in kind to the nature of the emergency, if that's what the situation is. If you get a medical situation or a fire or, a crash or whatever it happens to be.
Yep.
Somebody who's stranded, it's a dangerous situation, a medical situation.
Well, the problem is you couldn't cover every solitary situation where there might have been an emergency anyway. It's impossible. It could not have been done. That's why the fire station asks for a fire truck occasionally so that they can go ahead of that ambulance or ahead of that fire truck. On Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, that was impossible to cover every one of those situations.
And I would donate a plow truck to either emergency management or to the fire station over there. They could have it. And then that takes care of the concerns over emergency.
Well, it was a pretty regular situation in '97.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called him back and I informed him.
Well, thanks for the update.
Okay.
Appreciate knowing what's going into that.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's
I will.
There you go.
Sure. Thank you, Derek.
Ross, should we rescind that motion to approve the Edwards contract from last week?
That was just an issue with, we didn't notice it, right?
Yeah.
So we have to do it by resolution. When you do a land swap, there's a specific statute we had to follow, where we had to publish the legal description. So I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
Move. Second.
To rescind the motion from last week approving the land swap.
Okay.
Pending the hearing.
Yeah, 'cause we'll have a public hearing.
Motion by Weiss, second by Sutton to amend rescind the motion from last week.
Approving the contract.
Pending the hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Well, there's something new every day, don't we? We'll get there.
Anything
I've got
else?
a call, I made a call to the Corps of Engineers in Pier to check to see whether that 20 acres up front there on Prairiewood Road, whether or not that is under the control, or for lack of a better word, of the Corps of Engineers. If the county, in fact, this whole thing goes through, and if the county wanted to fill there or do some specific work in that low area, whether or not it is in fact in the considered a wetland, and I haven't heard back from them.
On Fairground Road you're
Well,
talking
there's
about.
a couple different designations for portions of that, is my understanding.
Well, we were told that it's not a wetland.
Yeah, well, there's difference,
The
floodplain and
NRC
wetland, and depends on the question you're asking.
NRCS and the FSA for farming purposes is probably not a wetland, but from the standpoint of the Corps of Engineers, more than likely is, and that's what I'm trying to determine.
Portion of it.
I don't think we got told the whole truth. I think
Portion of it.
That's the issue.
And if necessary, there's a way to do some mitigation and things like that, but it's a little more complicated, so.
Do we have anything else for exec, Ross? Anything for legal contracts?
Well, let us know if you hear any more on that.
Eric, anything on personnel?
Anything for me since I got thrown under the bus?
Well, I guess I didn't read the email. If any of you have, I guess I don't have any input because I didn't read what was going on under social media.
The post that went out to social media was what should have went out to everybody, including you five, that said the plows are coming out at 4 a.m. Monday. That's all it said. My job,
Well, I got that.
There was an extra line that went with it.
it said, it's not, I don't make these calls, and that's the truth, Mike.
Okay.
My job is to make sure that the public is taken care of public safety-wise.
Okay, but it was a county-wide policy set by the...
I don't even know we have a policy. This is the first I've heard of it.
All right, no,
I was getting phone calls after phone calls after phone calls, folks, about when the plows are coming out, from the fire chiefs, from the fire station, because we couldn't get ambulances out, and the public. I even got threatened that if somebody dies, this is going to be my fault.
that's inappropriate.
Damn right it's inappropriate. I do my best to work with Dirk.
Okay.
No, this shit gets old, people. I had to come in and get extra equipment out because the fire department was told, no, we couldn't have a plow truck down there.
But did they get a plow truck?
No!
I thought they did.
Well, that's my understanding.
I
They got a
didn't
plow-
call and bitch to Dirk. I called and asked Dirk what the plan was. I didn't argue with him. I didn't say anything else. But yet, it seems to be our fault? Come on!
So there was no plow truck at the,
Hell no!
I thought it came down there on Thanksgiving is what he said.
No.
Oh, he said there wasn't. That's just the way that he...
I think there was probably conversation about whether or not...
There was a request, I can show you the text message from the battalion chief, and I said, was there a plow truck requested? And he said, we put in a request yesterday, and we got turned down.
True.
So again, I try to work with this man the best I can, but I'm not gonna get thrown under the bus.
I would entertain a motion to go into executive personnel.
Moved.
Moved by Kipley, second by Weiss to go into executive personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Note that Scott and Dirk will be present. We are out of exec. No action as a result. Is Paul still there?
I think he took off too, I didn't see him.
Well, he had wanted to make a comment, so
He stopped in the restaurant yesterday, so he's got a comment.
okay.
You didn't adjourn because you was waiting for me?
We did wait for you.
No, I picked up the levy sheets from Kathy, and I kept them for years, curiosity killed the cat. I think I called Dennis first, and I think I ended up talking to you all briefly. I think, Dennis, you could confirm this or not, I'm gonna say it was probably around 10, 11 o'clock Sunday, I don't know, I'd been out for an hour or two moving snow. And I'm Paul Davidich, if you don't know me. I live on 14, and I've been told that it's one of the heavier traveled county roads in the county, and I'm not gonna argue or disagree or say it's the heaviest, but I know there's a lot of traffic on it. When I got out, I get out some Saturday evening in my yard, and then Sunday morning I did some more cleanup. We had some more snow. But at that time, Sunday morning, 15 miles north of town, the sun was shining. There was no direction, not a bit. When I called Dennis, I don't know Dennis.
It's probably 11.
Yeah. Anyway, I said, where are the snowplows? Because usually, I think they head out of town, and I don't know the route. That ain't my decision, but I'm sure you branch off coming north, because there's, 2 or 3 county roads going east and west. But I just was surprised that I didn't see a plow yet at 11 o'clock Sunday morning. We drove to town Sunday afternoon, and of course by then I knew that they weren't going. It was passable. We could make it. It wasn't that we needed a tow truck. I think my words to Dennis was, if he's not going out today, it was a damn poor decision not to. That's my comment, I think I said. Because knowing hindsight now and knowing at, I'm going to say 8 o'clock approximately Monday morning, County 14 was not open to Highway 10. I had nurses coming in, her nurse come in from the north. She turned off at 10 and she says, my God, it was bad yet. Now, I'm not complaining, Dirk shot his route, but I think Dirk could have stepped the plow out on 14, did a way better job at less expense, and got some of that snow off before it was packed all the rest of the day Sunday, till Monday at 8 o'clock. Now that's his decision, I'm going to live with it. I appreciate you guys sticking by him, he made the decision. But what confused me this morning, ladies and gentlemen, he said if it had been a 4-inch snow, I'd have been out and had them all cleared off probably Sunday. Well, is a 4-inch snow more important than a 16-inch snow? I don't think so. The 16-inch snow, to me, the plow should have been out as soon as they could, and if he could make it to heckler fine, turn around and come back, but at least have that portion of it done. That's my comment. I heard from 2 pharmacists and a nurse that lives north of 14. It was terrible, and even he mentioned when the trucks went, I knew that, the blade bounces over it, all of the ruts got soft snow and the car comes through them again. It's just like they weren't plowed. But Dirk, I'll give you credit. I don't know if a maintainer did it or not, but yesterday in 14 was done quite well, considered. Did you send a maintainer?
Yeah, we've, since 4 o'clock yesterday, with the exception of about 6 o'clock last night to 4 o'clock this morning, we've had equipment on the road.
Yeah. You did a good job, and I appreciate that, and I think you did it because 14 was a fairly highway traveled road, so you did a good job.
Well, 14, it's probably in the top 20 for road volume, and everything radiates out of Aberdeen, Claremont, Hecla, Frederick, and now Groton. We got another route we run out of Groton. So everything just radiates out. Actually, 14 is a little ways up there. You know, you're halfway to Frederick, so you're kind of on the end of 2 routes there.
Yeah.
I'd like to clarify something you didn't understand. If you listened to the rest of what I said about why we would have plowed it if it was a 4-inch snow, because you would have had everything open in its entirety. We wouldn't have got to your house. I know what you're saying. We've had this discussion before, and I also know that you think I'm foolish and inefficient. You know.
No, I know.
No, I know. That's what you told me last time you were in here. So I just went in my little notebook over here.
Yeah, I did. On the you're doing 14. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The $2.5 million we put into your road.
No,
but anyway,
well,
the 4-inch snow, you'd have completely eliminated it, and it would have been done. The 16-inch snow, like I said, the 2 guys we had out, the guy over by Groton did okay. Dave, You know, other than getting the one guy that needed to get out of town out, there wasn't a lot of production in his deal, in my opinion. But despite my comments, Paul, I do appreciate that you have an opinion, and I appreciate that you come in to comment one way or the other. At least somebody's paying attention.
Well, it was just, enough people talked to me on Monday that live out that way that was
Sure.
not too well satisfied.
Oh, no. Matter of fact, no one has called to say they were happy, except actually somebody out here said their road, one of the county employees said their road got plowed, and they were happy, so.
Yeah. But I just talked to a lady on the break that said the plow went, but it looked like it did, and I could understand why. You know, because those trucks skidded over the top. The rut still had soft snow in it. It didn't appear it did anything.
I had a call from the beef packing plant road going east over to 14, and then I also had, I think, 3 calls from out at Richmond Lake itself, and you know, I just told them that the decision was made to go out Monday morning, and that was it. And
But you didn't know that when I talked to you on Sunday. Just a couple other things. I noticed, what's the policy on pushing snow across the county road? Isn't there a policy on that?
Oh, yeah.
Illegal? Do you enforce it?
Do we
It's been
enforce
enforced.
it? Yeah, we do. We send out letters. You go through the same, just like the bail policy, you know. But it's gotten a little better. Last year was kind of bad because of the, you know, we didn't have a lot of snow in those prior years, but people seem to be a little more aware of it, or their neighbors turn them in more or something.
Well, don't your snowplow drivers turn them in?
Well, yeah, but then we gotta go get the sheriff, and you gotta write them a ticket, and then you
No,
gotta
I didn't
process
know
it
what
through the state's attorney, and...
Well, I just
there's gotta
noticed
be-
it. I'm not gonna turn anybody in,
No.
but I would think your snowplow drivers.
Yeah, they call it, you know, but like I said, that's...
Well, I
that's
know,
always
I
part
know
of it.
there's one for sure, and I just was confirming your
Sure.
policy.
Oh, no.
Because we've
There's a lot of
got
'em.
3 driveways go out into 14, and it, you know, I gotta go to the end and push in. I'm not complaining, that's the
Right.
policy, but I don't wanna, you know, push across. It's kinda nice sometimes when your wingman throws the way out.
Right, right.
But I just was curious. I thought you had a policy, and I
Yeah,
thought
we
you
do.
tried to enforce it some.
Well, the idea is to not put, you know, additional snow and let it build up to become,
I
you know,
know.
a snow fence and so forth. I mean, if you're fortunate enough to have a driveway and then one across that goes into a field and it's your field, you push it all the way across
No,
into
I
your
can't
own
do
field,
that.
no harm, no foul.
problem is, you get out, like out to Richmond Lake and some of them development areas where the county is going through, they've got no room to push that snow. I mean, I go out on the Richmond Road, turn around, push the snow all up my driveway. I gotta, you know,
Mhm.
and I mean, every situation is different there too.
All of our driveways are on the west side, and of course, you know,
Well, it goes back and begs the question, should some of that development been allowed to develop the way that it did?
Unbelievable.
The other, just comment or question, and probably Dirk can answer it as well as anybody, was it a request from Prairie Wood that it's no passing on that full mile on 14?
It was I got a couple different people there, and then I ran it by some, you know, it wasn't my idea originally, 2 different people that lived along there, because what was happening is people would, you know, like a truck, say if you got a truck that's turning north up 14 off of Prairie Wood, so he's not going very fast. Then these cars were coming out and passing around that truck, and at the same time, you got people turning out of all those residences along Prairie Wood. That's the thinking there.
Yeah, I guess there is a couple different residences, right, on the west
Like
side.
6 or 7 there, I think.
At least if you do more sharing driveways, but even
Yeah.
so, it's created. an
Well, I'm
issue.
gonna count them, but I don't think there's 6 driveways on the west side of 14 in that mile.
Well, check them when you go home.
Aren't those no passing, those are just suggestions, all right?
Well,
So I take it you don't like that?
no, I don't, it doesn't bother me that much, but it's just kinda strange, that mile, and I didn't think that was that heavy traffic, and that much people come out, because it's a section line on both ends, and they got stop signs, you know.
Yeah, but you got those
There's
driveways.
a section line on both ends of Prairie Wood, right?
Correct,
You're
correct.
talking all the way, that mile where
That
Gary
full
Myers
mile.
lives on the...
Yeah,
on the
Gary
east side.
Myers is the only one on the
Yep.
east side,
On the east side, yeah.
Yeah.
and I don't know for sure, but other than the section
So
line.
I guess I missed what the problem is.
There's no
We don't like the
passing
no
zone for a
passing.
mile.
Well,
Oh,
you
it's
got the
painted.
two, you got the two section lines, you got
It's all
a
straight.
Yeah, but
There's no
that
passing in
section
that
line,
whole
you
mile.
don't stop anywhere.
Correct, but it's still a point of entry, and we've had this conversation when you wanted to put your approach at a 45-degree angle in the intersection of 9 and 14 before, but,
Yeah.
Put a roundabout in.
Yeah, put a roundabout in. But there's one that comes out of the maintenance, where the first shop there
Yeah.
is the maintenance for the golf course. Then there's the newer flat roofed house, and they share an approach. And then you got Tigan's in there, and then there's at least 6, I mean, the 2 have stop signs, I agree with you, because everyone doodles
So you're
away.
counting, if you count the section line, yeah.
So there's at least 6, there might be more.
I'm counting, I didn't think the section line was counted, but, you know, like driveways, because they're there all the time.
Correct.
It isn't that they're there.
I'm not following you.
Well, the section
Oh,
lines
yeah.
always are there.
Well, so are
It's
the
extra the extra driveways were put in with
Oh.
approval.
Yeah.
See, and all 3 of our west side off of 14 are not on the section line. They're all on the quarter line.
I don't understand what you're pointing
I
at.
just didn't think that,
That would warrant striping?
yeah,
Um,
that's my opinion.
Okay, well, if you look in the MUTCD, the traffic count there, which you think your road 14's busy, you know, that right there where we got the double stripe is probably double.
Yeah.
And, but
Well,
with
it's part of my road. though.
Right, but, the
Well, or the county road, I mean, it's the
General
same.
Memorial Highway.
I can remember the day when I requested that Richmond Road be double striped from Highway 281 for 2 miles, and Larry Mitzel came out and did it.
Oh, yeah.
And within 2 weeks, it was undone, because the people at Richmond Lake bitched and hollered and complained so bad that they undid it. And so, I mean, you talk about approaches, and you talk about travel, and you talk about speed, and you talk about numbers of cars. I mean, if something needs to be double striped, that needs to be double striped.
And I agree with you, but I know what would happen.
It'll never happen.
Well,
I'd
no,
rather post the speed limit to 35 out there.
You could just make it wider and put a median.
Yes, I don't need to pass in that mile. I just was curious if the request comes because of price.
It came from 2 residents that live out there along the road, and then just like a Jake break request or a speed limit change or anything like that, then you evaluate it and,
Well, back to 14, as
Okay.
long as you brought it up first about the redoing, I still think it's foolish to do 5 miles and not do 1, and then do 2 miles and then not do 80 rods, but
Yep.
that's your decision.
correct.
These people they approved it. But I still don't agree with it, because when I travel that,
You hit a bump every time.
you're darn right on them culverts, and I just figured that when you did 20-some miles, and you did the first 16 or whatever it was, I had it wrote down, and never did a break, and then when you get to the other closer end, when you got more traffic, and it accumulates, and then you start skipping miles.
Right.
That's your decision. There's still bumps. It's better than it was. Thank you, Doug. It is. It's better than it was.
Okay.
But the trucks are still going, you know it, and I know it, and I never did see a truck count there, to see how much more traffic there was. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for coming in,
I
Paul.
still think that if we get 16 inches of snow, again, I hope you put the trucks out as soon as you can, whether it's Sunday or Saturday. Okay? But I guess you're not gonna.
Every situation's
Motion to
different.
adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Tipley, second by Weiss to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are